Okay, good morning and welcome. We are live for our mindfulness moment, getting started this morning, and let me get connected on TikTok and away we'll go. Sorry, I'm a little bit late getting started this morning, but here we are. Good morning. Let me know where you're joining from as we're here for our mindfulness moment, our time of joining together in prayer and meditation together. Okay. See if Facebook will let me go on. Okay, at least 10 minutes from now. Okay. All right, we're going to be going live here in just a minute. Let's see if it will let me do that. Save changes. No. Okay. All right, I'm going to be back on. Good morning. How are you, Ashley? Good to see you. All right, so we're live on YouTube. Let me know where you're joining from. We're live on TikTok. Hi, Sharon. Sorry, I'm still trying to get set up. I'm running a little late this morning. So let me know where you're joining from. This is our time of corporate meditation together. I'm going to be talking just a little bit more about what I shared about. Thank you, Ashley. Good to see you. In our Sunday community, I've just been really intrigued with the idea of death and dreams and hopes and relationships and how everything works together in our lives for good. And so, yeah, let me get into that in just a moment when I find my music here. Okay. So let me know where you're joining from. This is our corporate meditation time, where we join our spirits together. We seek connection with the divine together to get us ready for our mornings. And I'm going to get my incense burning to get my body and mind in that sacred space. And whatever you do to denote that you're moving to help your physiology and your spirit to understand that you're moving into a sacred space, I make that recommendation for you. And for me, that's just the aroma and the smoke of incense that just tells my body it's a sacred moment. Good morning on TikTok from West Virginia. Hi, Andrea. Good morning. Nice to see you as well. So what I was talking about in our Sunday community on Sunday was how what I was taught in my Christian upbringing was to fear death, that death had this finality to it. Hi, Oklahoma City. Glad you're with us, Rebecca. That it was appointed unto man once to die, and then the judgment. That once someone was dead, they were gone, and then one day we would see them in the sweet by and by. And in the midst of all of that, what you lose is the importance of the cycle of death in nature, that the death of one plant becomes the nutrients for something new to grow. And so Christianity has this idea of you just pray and get over it. Just stuff your feelings. Don't live in your emotions. Just seek out joy and if you don't have joy, act like you do so that you look like you're good. But death and sadness and anger and loss are not invalid emotions. They're not invalid human conditions. And they're often at the apex and origin of something new. And that's important in life. Sometimes things need to come to an end. There is a time for relationships to end. There is a time for having your... Sorry, I'm having to block a few people here who can't handle the freedom of commenting. There are times that we need relationships, we need belief systems, we need mindsets to come to an end. Sure, Carla. Hi, how are you? Good to rev Carla today. I usually have to start off getting rid of a few people who can't handle the freedom of commenting when I start these things. I'm not sure how everybody became 5-year-olds overnight, but they did. And so often we're told, just pray and it'll be all good. Just read your Bible and it'll be all good. And it creates a really toxic environment where we don't get down to the seat of our emotions and say, what's going on inside of here? And I can tell you in my life, that theology nearly destroyed me. Revit. Add moderator. The number of admins. Oh, I guess it says I've reached the maximum number of admins that I can have. The number of admins has reached a maximum. All right. Sorry, Rev Carla. Thank you for trying to help. Yeah, so sweet. So I see somebody saying, where do you get that? Bible says nowhere in Scripture does it say that. I'm not sure what that means. And I'll definitely answer questions at the end of our time together today. So I try not to get too distracted by the comments while I'm leading us in our mindfulness time. So if you're just joining, welcome. This is our time of spiritual connection. And time we join our hearts and spirits together and connect to the divine. So come on in and join. And that often we're told in Christianity that we're not to trust our emotions because emotions are flesh and flesh is evil. And that is very much in Western Christianity a belief system. And I say our emotions are telling us very much what is happening inside, and it's important to be attuned to what is happening inside and to ponder that through. So quite often when we start to know a relationship isn't healthy for us anymore, it's okay to know that death, as a part of Christian theology, death is a bringer of life. It is a transition to a new season. That's why Jesus was unafraid even to sacrifice his own life for others. And the death of a relationship, the death of a mindset, the death of a community identity can bring us to something new. Now, the important thing, and this is where I'm really camping right now, is when death occurs, we grieve that death, we mourn it. And another thing that I was taught as a Christian is, joy comes in the morning, read Psalm 13, the shortest psalm in the Bible, and you get to say, yes, I'm upset, and all is good. Thank you, God, I'm grateful. And there is a time, it says in Ecclesiastes, to mourn. There is a time to break down. There is a time to grieve. There's a time to be angry and upset. And there's a time to let yourself respond to what's happening inside so that we can process where we are and where we're going. And that's what mindfulness is so important to do. I think in this Easter Passion Week season that we've been through, I think about Peter, who was this passionate, emotional disciple whose mom had probably told him every day of his growing up that the Messiah is going to come one day and he's going to overthrow the government and put us back in charge of our country, put our race and our religion back in charge of our country. The Messiah will come and make Israel great again. And you, Simon, are going to be following that Messiah. And when that Messiah takes charge of the country again, you'll be seated at his right hand. And one day, his brother Andrew comes and says, I think I've met the Messiah. I think I've met the man. His name is Jesus. He's from Nazareth. And they begin to follow this man, and they see miracles happening, and they see crowds thronging, and they had to say, wow, this is it. It's funny that even on Jesus' last day on earth, their question to Jesus was, now, Jesus, now are you going to make Israel great again? Now is today the day you're going to overthrow the government? And then comes the night that Jesus is taken away and tried and executed in the most heinous fashion. And Peter wasn't the stand-up guy he thought he was that night, was he? He denied that he even knew Jesus. His dream was dead. Peter says, I got to go make a living. We're going to have to go fishing again. And he takes 6 of his disciple buddies with him, and they go back to the occupation of fishing. The dream is dead. Dreams die. Mindsets have to change. We have to be evaluating what's going on here all the time. We have to continually have our mind renewed so we know what is good and right in the season. And then some guy on the beach says, hey, throw your net out on the other side. And they bring in 153 fish, the story says. And John, Peter's buddy, sometimes antagonist, leans over and says, hey, that's Jesus over on the beach. And Peter jumps out of the boat, goes to him. And they hang out with Jesus on the beach. And Jesus says to Peter 3 times, do you love me? And Peter is hurt by the questions. Yeah, you know I do. You know I do, teacher. You know I do. And what happens in that moment is Peter is given by his teacher, his leader, a new purpose. Peter, your dream has died, and it needed to die because it wasn't the dream that was going to take you to your purpose. I just feel like that may be a message for some of us today, that something that we dreamed about or knew or believed ended. Some of us lost our church community. Some of us have lost relationships. Certainly in COVID, many of us have lost loved ones to death. And all of that is to be grieved. And there's a pull in Christianity to but get through the grief. And we got to get to the other side. We got to get to forgiveness. We got to get to... And I'm saying we can have a framework of this is a transition that will serve me and my purpose. But right now, I'm grieving that what I had dreamed about didn't come to be. Peter's dream had to die in the story of the Bible so that something new could come on the other side, that the death of one thing feeds nutritionally the growth of something new. And sometimes it's our desire to hang on or to not be present to the fact that, hey, this had to die. This mindset I had, this relationship I had, this belief system I had served me perhaps in the past, but had to die so that something new could come. So I'm going to sit in the grief of that moment and know that in the framework of things, something new is on the other side. So let's go into our mindfulness time together, thinking about that. You may be thinking what is required, what's needed in this season. You may be thinking about a loss of a relationship, a loss of a church community. Just breathe in and feel the pain, the disappointment, the anger that may come along with that understanding. Sometimes I get very angry when I think about the very poor teaching I was given as a young Christian and a not so young Christian. I was, in fact, lied to as to the meaning of what I was reading in that story of Jesus. And it does make me angry. And when I see that bondage being imposed on others, it does make me angry. And so I use that anger and process it through in my mindfulness time and let it inspire me to something better on the other side that will help me know the good and perfect will of heaven in the season. So just find yourself wherever you're sitting, just feel your body being supported by your chair, by your couch, by whatever you're sitting in. Just start to breathe. Feel that cleansing breath come in and taking out all of the toxic energy on there. Body fully supported. And then if an anxiety comes along, I have to deal with this today, give yourself the chance to take that anxiety out, set it over there for a moment and say, it'll certainly be there for me to pick up when I'm finished with this moment. Breathe in and let it out. When we put the HA, with that breathe out, sometimes it really emphasizes blowing out some of the negative energy that we have inside there. Feel the sacredness of this moment. The sacredness that my spirit is connecting with yours. You can actually feel your spirit become bigger than your body. What's inside of you is more eternal than the body. So what is more significant and real? The soul inside or the body that contains it? So feel yourself as a spiritual being connecting to this moment, connecting to me, connecting to the other people who have put their names on the screen. Our hearts are connected in this moment. And I feel the beauty of your humanity with me and my humanity with you, and our spirits connected together through the energy of love. So now we invite the divine to join us. Whatever God looks like to you, whatever the spirit of heaven looks like to you, is an experience to you, you get to make that decision. Nobody else get to impose what the goodness of heaven looks like to you. If the God of Christianity exists that has two eyes, a nose, and a mouth, that God can be presented and present with you in any form you would choose and would be safe with. Our problem sometimes is Christians believe in too small of a God. They have a man-made idol that they worship rather than the Spirit of heaven. So I want you to sense that Spirit of heaven around you, with you, sitting in this moment with you. Experience what it feels like on your body, what it feels like in your spirit, to know that the divine is with you. For some of you, you may not be able to feel that experience because it's been cut off by religious beliefs or many other things, and that's okay. Then just sit knowing that I am with you and love you and am rooting for you. But if you can sense the presence of the divine, just let that sense wash through you, physically and spiritually. The beauty about sitting with the divine is we can then ask for divine wisdom and sense to come. You can ask that divine spirit, who am I? What do you think about me? And I promise you, anything inside of you that says you're not good, you need to do better, you're worthless, that's not a voice from heaven. That's a voice that was put in you by another human being. When you're sitting with the divine, I want you to be present to that sense of a season of death, of transition. And think about what brings the pain and the anger, the fear, the loss, the sadness in the moment. And just sit with that for a moment, knowing that the divine will sit silently with you with no judgment and be angry with you, weep with you, be sad with you, and not demand that you get to the other side until the proper time has come. So sit with that feeling for a moment and imagine God, whatever God looks like to you, sitting with that with you. And let me share a proverb with you, a biblical one, that says, "Let us not grow weary in doing good, for in due season we will reap. We will reap a reward. We will reap a harvest. We will reap something better if we do not give up." It's okay to grieve, be sad, and hurt, feel loss. Those are extremely beautiful human emotions, and they are good. And then something in our human spirit says, when I sit with those emotions, I become aware that I am not given up. I am not going to quit. I'm not going to let the bastard steal my ability to see that this is not an end to me. It's a season of transition. And sometimes those seasons need to last a while. Doesn't make you weak or small or less Christian. It makes you human. And being human is the best thing you can be. Spirit of heaven, bless us with your loving presence and your wisdom right now. I saw that comment about tears coming. Tears are fantastic. Tears are one of the most important physiological acts you can do. It is a cleansing moment. And so, yes, let the tears come if there are tears. Dreams do die. Relationships die. Times change. Seasons pass so that something new can come on the other side. So I bless you. So now let's finish with gratefulness with the divine spirit with us. Just say thank you, Spirit, for coming and being with us, for sharing your presence and your love and your hope. And we release that divine back to heaven. And then we come to one another. In my yoga practice, we would say, the light in me recognizes the light in you and the honor of sharing this moment with you. And we would say, Namaste. Show gratefulness to the others who have joined with us in this moment on the screen on YouTube and TikTok. The others who will watch this down the line, we are grateful for you. And I am grateful for you all. Amen. Amen. Thank you for joining me for our mindfulness time. Now is the time I usually hang out for a little bit. Let me stop our music. And I'm more than happy to answer questions or hear what you have to say. Thank you, D39 Miller. I'm grateful for you as well. And you can share. Ashley says, this was so beautiful. Thank you so much for facilitating these moments for us. It is my honor, Ashley. Marlo says, grateful for Pastor Paul. Thank you. Thank you. Though I do always give the invitation that if you like my work and my ministry, you can go to my website, pastor-paul.com, and either sign up for the newsletter, comment on my community chat board there, just create some energy in the Pastor Paul community there. And if you are able and willing, and it doesn't create a financial hardship, you can give financially into what I do by clicking on that Support Pastor Paul button. And from anywhere from $5.99 a month to $100 a month, you can help. And so if you would just do me a favor and go to pastor-paul.com and check it out, I would be greatly, greatly honored and appreciate that, because that's how I make my living, along with the coaching that I do. And we're going to be having a special this week coming up, because I'm realizing that it's just a little bit of a concerning financial time. And so I'm reducing the cost of my coaching by about 40% for the next 5 days, starting on Wednesday. And so if you would like to do work with me on this journey of seeing culture sort of shift around us, if you want to be a part of the transforming of that culture rather than being transformed by it, I do emotional and spiritual well-being coaching around that and would love to talk to you about that. So if you go to my website, pastor-paul.com, you can sign up for a free one-on-one time with me. And we can talk about how I can support you in your journey of emotional and spiritual well-being. If you're on TikTok, all of that is in my link tree in my bio. So what did you experience in mindfulness today? What did you hear? What did you see? I'd love for you to share. And if you have any questions, I'm more than willing to answer questions right now. Sharon says, it was carryover from last week. I'm asked to stay the course, but the internal fatigue is significant. So let's share. How do you get through when you just get tired? Like, I'm just tired of being sad. I'm tired of grieving. I'm tired of trying to be hopeful. Somebody else share. How do you get through that? How do we do that without finding some sort of placation or self-medication? But how do we really become attuned to, I'm tired. I'm tired, but I don't want to stop moving forward. How do you do that? Grieving from ? Well, Alan Smith, that's for you to answer. There's a season of grieving right now. A lot of people have lost their church community because they felt they could no longer be a part of a church that has become what many American churches have become today. Some are grieving the loss of relationships because many relationships have been broken by the cultural shift of the moment. And with COVID particularly, many of us have lost loved ones who have passed away. So there is a lot to be grieving in this season. And I think it's just in a season of cultural shift, which is what we're in. Many are going to feel the discomfort of that shift, of having to leave old mindsets and beliefs and relationships behind to move into what's new in the season. And one of the worst placation and Christian platitudes you can do is say, just give it to Jesus. That's a really unhealthy way to look at it, in my opinion. I've spent much of my life giving it to Jesus, and what I realized giving it to Jesus meant is act like it doesn't hurt. Act like it's okay. Present well to other Christians so you look good in the community. But most of the people that I know I used to have a man that would come into my office and I would talk to him about how he was dealing with his pain. And he would say, I just say, Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do. And it was clear he had not forgiven them for what they did. Ashley says, last week I did a ritual to let go of some things I've been holding on to. And this was such a timely message to grieve those necessary losses. That's a good thing. Like, some people will write a letter about what they're feeling about a relationship, or write a letter to somebody that they had to cleave relationship with, and then destroy the letter, burn it. You can write it in an email and then not send it, or print the email out and burn it. You can have rituals that show the breaking of the season. I don't do platitudes. Well, too often ask Lord Jesus to fill the hole is a platitude. Sharon says, I hope I'm still moving in the right direction. Sharon, you're a good friend. Why don't you reach out, go to my website, pastor-paul.com, and click on the contact us and send me an email, and let's have a chat and see if I can give you some input into walking through that. D39 Miller says, I have to get out away from others so I can get my place where I can focus with the spirit. I have to acknowledge what's hurting my spirit. That's good. Sharon says, maybe the divine needs to carry me for a while, but I get anxious if I'm not rowing the boat. Oof. That's a very true saying, that sometimes we don't like transition seasons. It feels out of control. Ashley says, I made a list of things I was choosing to let go of, and then I burned it. Ashley said that over on YouTube. Galatians 6:9 was a mantra I used for a long period of time in a transition season of mine. Don't grow weary in doing good, for in due time, that due time is the important hook there, we will reap if we don't give up. Alan Smith says, I guess I don't belong here. Um, that's for you to decide, Alan. I just want you to realize that just give it to Jesus is often a very traumatizing and is quite often a platitude that tells people feeling their emotion, feeling their hurt, feeling their loss is somehow less godly than those who can just say, well, I just gave it to Jesus and he gave me grace. Now, if you were able to use religious belief to process through pain with the spirit of heaven, I'm totally on board with that. But just know that language of just give it to Jesus has created a lot of pain and a lot of shame in a lot of people through history. Okay, cool. Well, what did you say, Alan? That would be great to hear. Ashley says, just give it to Jesus is dismissive of a person's experience. It quite often is, yes. And what it generally tends to say in my church experience, which is 56 years of my life, I should say 55 years of my life, is if you don't feel good, at least act that way so that other people don't have to feel uncomfortable around you. Paula Green Aja says, I'm so excited to catch you live on my coffee break. You're so soothing. Thank you. I got a runny nose today and I don't have any Kleenex, and so I'm suffering just a little bit here. I recorded 2 podcasts yesterday that will be coming up here in the near future. If you know who Jo Lumen is, she calls herself the reluctant pastor. She's from Colombia. She lives in San Diego, and she's a great TikTok creator. And we did a podcast together yesterday. It was so good. I can't wait for everybody to hear it. Don't forget, pastor-paul.com is my website. If you would go and just check out my resources there. And if you can give through subscription and be a part of helping me continue to do what I do. Thank you for the gift, Paula. It says you just became a top 1 viewer. Thank you, Paula. All right. Any other thoughts, questions? Anything else you heard while you were sitting with the divine today? Thank you for the likes, Sharon. Thank you for the hand hearts, Paula. Very beautiful. Katie says, sorry, I missed the best part, but glad I caught the end. Thank you, Pastor Paul. A good reminder, Katie, that if anybody did miss our mindfulness moment today, it is available on my YouTube channel, and you can watch it back anytime you like. You can get to my YouTube channel through my website, pastor-paul.com, or through my link tree in my bio on TikTok. Andrea says, this really helped me to listen to myself and be aware of my spirit. It's very good. That's awesome, Andrea or Andrea. It's really important that we're attuned to what our spirit is saying to us, what our pain is saying to us. I guess we lost Alan Smith because he didn't. And Alan may have been very sincere in what he's saying. I don't mean to just dismiss automatically, but far too often what I hear from Christians and even people in my own family are like, just let Jesus give you grace, and we just have to be careful that doesn't become a self-medicating platitude, which it quite often is in the church, that we are discomforted with discomfort. And as my yoga instructor said the other day, it's important in life to get comfortable with being uncomfortable. All right, I'm going to have to go in a couple minutes. Any other thoughts or questions? Don't forget, go to my website right now, pastor-paul.com. I would love for you to learn about what I do with coaching. You may feel like, what in the heck is going on around me in the cultural turbulence? And in the midst of that, as we're feeling that, it's important to start to recognize that the shifting landscape under our feet causes identity problems at times. Who am I? Where am I going? What am I doing? What is the mindset I'm working from? And that's the perfect time to start to think about this transition I'm talking about, of relearning, retelling our story. Who am I? How do I interrelate with the world? And why do I exist on this earth? Everything we do in life is to create a sense of safety, value, and purpose for us. Everybody as a human being needs to know, first off, that we're safe and we're going to survive. And sometimes when we've been traumatized through our life, things that happen around us begin to threaten our very feeling of safety. And so we find unhealthy mechanisms to protect ourselves from that moment. If we feel safe, then we want to know we matter to somebody around us. We want to know we have value. And again, often value we will grab in unhealthy ways if we're not being able to sense it in a healthy way. And then finally, we want to know that there's a reason for us to exist, that the world is impacted by us being here, and that if we didn't exist, the world would be a different place. And so that's what we work on in Pastor Paul Emotional and Spiritual Wellbeing Coaching, is what gives you that very healthy sense of safety, value, and purpose to work through in this season. So if you go to pastor-paul.com, the splash page is up there, and you can schedule a one-on-one with me for free, and we'll chat about how I can walk with you, and if coaching would be very helpful for you in the season that you're in, or if there are some other resources that I have that can help, or at very least just bless you and get a chance to look you virtually in the eye and say, hey, I think you're pretty amazing and I love who you are. So that's pastor-paul.com. Would love for you to check it out. And while you're there, sign up for my newsletter. You get updates about what's going on in my world. And also, if you can support me financially there by clicking on that Support Pastor Paul button, from anywhere from $5.99 a month, which you may think, what's it matter? What can $5.99 a month do? Well, if I can get 300 people signed up at $5.99 a month, it gives me a good foundation from which to work and do my work, and would be very, very helpful. So don't just dismiss, well, it's not going to make a difference if I don't do that. It does make a difference. And if you're able, you can do up to a $100 a month subscription, and you get some cool things to interact with me if you do so. So I would love for you to check that out. pastor-paul.com. All right. If there's no more questions or comments, I'll let you guys go. Remember, if you joined late, you can find this on my YouTube channel and any of the other mindfulness moments of the past. You may be in a season of loss, of transition, but I promise it's valuable because it brings something new on the other side. Death feeds new life, new growth, new life springing up in the desert. And I bless you in that season. All right, I'm going to put my incense out to show myself that my sacred moment is over. And I say namaste to you today. Much love to you guys. And we'll see you again very soon. So YouTube guys, I say goodbye to you. See you, Ashley.